Congratulations to both Marc Abraham and Reverend Darrell Cummings. I've had the pleasure of serving on the board with both Marc and Reverend Cummings. Marc for a longer time. I believe Reverend Cummings was leaving the board as I joined. Both remarkable men, and YSS is a better place because of their contributions to the agency. Marc and his profession has served the agency well, done some remarkable things and allow it to grow. And Reverend Cummings, I like to say that the Reverend's a good shepherd, and he's in the community with the people. He does a lot. So he's a Ron Mulholland, John Moses kind of person who cares about people and doing the most he can for the least amongst us. Remarkable man in what he does for the people in the inner city here in Wheeling. And then that's not to slight Marc in any way, because again, by profession, what Marc does, he's an accountant, and they're by practice or behind the scenes people. But that's not to undermine the value or the importance of his contribution or the contribution of people like him. So we thank you, and I appreciate you, and God bless you.
My father was an accounting professor at Belmont Technical College, and that's where he met Ron Mulholland, the original founder of YSS. Mr. Mulholland came to my dad one day and said, I want to start up an organization, one that will help the children here in the Ohio Valley who have been victims of abuse and neglect, and also ones that are less fortunate. So that's how my dad became involved with YSS since the start. Since then, he has donated a lot of his time and expertise, not only to YSS, but to the entire community, and has touched so many lives here in the Ohio Valley.
My dad, Marc Abraham, has always been someone who's always looking out for others. And, through services, that's just one example of many different types of things he does within our family, within our community. And, he's someone that I've always looked up to and always strive to be, because it's hard to kind of think through what it takes to do that, and how much energy and how much love it involves, and while also taking care of a family. And I'll always cherish everything my father has done, and I try to be that every day. Not very successful, I'm still trying, but he has made such a huge difference to so many people, including all of those at youth services. And the world is just much better, and so is Wheeling, because of my dad.
Okay, what I remember most about Marc has to do with our director who really made things blossom at YSS, and that was Ron Mulholland. Ron was always 2 steps ahead of the money, with 2 programs ahead of the money, as he used to say. Marc would smile, he would frown a little bit, but he would smile, because I know that had to conflict with his accounting principles, but he did well. The other thing I remember about Marc is Ron would also say to his staff, here's your paycheck, don't cash it till Tuesday. Marc continued to smile, he helped us work it out. That's what I remember.
I've known Marc Abraham for over 50 years. Marc has great integrity and character. Marc has always cared about his community and the people who lived in it. If they are less fortunate, Marc even cared about them more. Marc is most deserving of the Good Samaritan Award.
So Marc, I've known you for over 20 years, and I knew that you were involved with YSS, but I really didn't know the extent, because that's the kind of guy that you are. So you raised a family, you ran a business, you taught at Belmont College, and then in the background, you're quietly amassing over 30 years of service. And you didn't brag about it, you didn't say, hey, look at all the great stuff I'm doing, you just did it. And I think this award for you is about community service, but it's also about serving with character, and you have a ton of character. I think one of the biggest things is your humility So everybody knows that you've had some health challenges. And I think that you wake up and you don't say, why me? You say, why not me? And you get up and you do the best you can. And recently you laughed and you said, I don't think I deserve this, but really I can't think of anybody more deserving. So congratulations, Marc. You got it.
Congratulations, Marc, on being named the 2023 Good Samaritan. When Marc and his wife Debbie became our next door neighbor and good friends over 30 years ago, Marc was running his own accounting firm in addition to teaching accounting at Belmont Tech. But he always had time to serve his community, whether it was contributing to his church, a golf tournament, Little League baseball, various fundraisers, or any way that he could help out. He served on many boards, but YSS was always his favorite. He had a special place in his heart for YSS. What a wonderful organization you chose to support, Marc, and what a difference you and YSS have made, making and creating a better future for the youth and families of the Ohio Valley. And you and Reverend Cummings are perfect examples of good Samaritans. Marc, we've been through a lot, and I remember the time when you decided you were going to cut your own grass. You destroyed 3 lawnmowers. All the neighbors had no lawnmowers left except the ones that weren't there that day. That's when we decided that you should give up cutting grass, sticking to being an accountant, and hiring a grass cutter. Congratulations, my friend. We are very proud of you.
Wish we were there. We've got a Friday night wedding in Charlottesville, Virginia, so unfortunately we weren't able to make it, but I'm glad to join you here. When I think about Marc Abraham, I'll choose 4 words that I'll use to describe Marc. Kind, generous, non-judgmental, compassionate. And these are traits that Marc has had since I first met him when we were about 11 years old and continue through this day. He's always been that way. And, I think about, Good Samaritan Award, the road to Jericho. What would Marc have done? Well, he would have stopped. He would have helped. And he wouldn't have understood what all the fuss was about afterwards, having done that, because that's the type of person that he is. Marc's known to make hard choices. Go back to high school. He chose Latin as an elective. Not too many people were doing that. Not only chose it, but he continued to visit his Latin teacher until she was near 100 years old, never forgetting that experience. So, another thing that kind of exemplifies hard choices is, Marc's had a very busy life, running a very successful business, then becoming the head of the accounting department at a community college. And so then, when approached to do something like this, with youth services, it's like, where would you find the time? Well, for Marc, it was just like, hey, this is something I want to do. He would make the time, and he did. And again, it's just no surprise that he's receiving this award. And it's a wise choice. I'd also like to do a shout out to his wife, Debbie, somebody who was a teacher all her life, could have taught anything at any level, and chose to teach special education. And the difference that she made in her community is just, she's a true hero. And definite shout out to Debbie, somebody who I love and admire. So again, Marc, congratulations, a well-deserved award. Marc, Debbie, we really wish we were there. We miss you. Hope to see you soon. And thanks again for letting me take part in this award. Thank you.
Congratulations, Marc. I've been with you 42 years this month, and your unwavering strength and faith in God and family and youth services has brought us here today. I love you, everything and more.
I'm very grateful to receive this award. Good Samaritan in Youth Services. Youth Services has had a place in my heart since 1985 when I first got on the board. J.T. McCamick called me up and asked me if I would serve on the board, and reluctantly I went ahead and did it, but I soon found that I was getting as much out of the meetings as the children, because whenever I'd be driving home I felt like we did something good. I became a member of the board in 1985 and served as president twice. And Ron Mulholland was the first CEO of Youth Services, and John Moses was the second, and the third was Tammy Cruz and Joe Pennybacker. So over 50 years, we've only had 4 CEOs, which says a lot about the organization. Yeah, I would like to remind everybody, Ron Mulholland is a vocal point in the success of YSS. And he was the Good Samaritan in the second year that we had the award. And I got a copy of his speech right here. Many of you may have remembered it, but many of you may not know it. And it starts off with the one absolute, the one moral imperative is that we must respond. We must say yes, yes, and yes again. Children cannot survive our failed efforts. Children can no longer be seen as a constituency worthy of only occasional concern. Children are our future. If their needs, hopes, desires are not addressed with the seriousness that equals the stakes involved, we as a society have failed and will suffer the consequences of years to come. Per Ron Mulholland, founder, Youth Services System. So we need to keep that spirit alive. And I think Youth Services is in good hands with the management and the rank and file of the whole organization.
I'm so sorry I'm not present this evening when you honor 2 great men. And Marc, with a C, when I think of you, I see a big smile and a twinkle in your eye. And how did we ever get to being together on the YSS board for 30 plus years? 4 words. My father, Mike Cox. He snookered me first and then brought you over as his adopted son from Belmont Tech. And your first task was to simplify the board financial reports. You have your priorities straight, Marc. Faith, family, work, and your service to the community, and all the while with your sturdy oak, Debbie, by your side. Well done, friend, and enjoy tonight. Mwah! Mwah!
Well, I am here to talk about my friend Darrell Cummings. I got to know Darrell in the Rotary Club of Wheeling, and we're recording this on Rotary Day, Tuesdays. And that's how I met Darrell. The motto of Rotary is service above self, and that sounds just like Dr. Cummings. I've talked to a number of people knowing I was going to do this. I talked to a number of people and asked them about that. And selfless is the word that I heard more often than anything. He's always the guy who's going to come out and solve a problem when it happens. Everybody just loves the guy. I talked to my wife Becky just last night about Darrell, and she said, you know what? He's the community conscience. He doesn't ever preach, but he sees a problem, he tackles it, and he gets us all to jump right in for him. And that's Darrell Cummings. If there are some of you who know me out there, you'll probably be surprised to hear this, but if I hadn't become a lawyer, I would have been a Methodist minister. So I'm kind of into all this Bible stuff, and I know it'll embarrass Darrell and Letitia for me to say this, but I've always thought that he's the most Christ-like person I know. Great guy and very deserving of this award.
Bishop Cummings, first of all, I want to emphasize that I'm honored to have an opportunity to pay tribute to you, along with many others, you who embody the concept of a Good Samaritan. If I had to define it, I would define it as you. Everyone, of course, is well aware, and will hear from others, about the incredible efforts that Bishop Cummings has made in our city for decades, and the Christian leadership that he has exhibited for so many people. I wanted to talk for a minute about a board I served on with Bishop Cummings back in about 15 years ago. He was president of the West Virginia Northern Community College Board when I came on, and served as president for a number of years. I want to mention some of the characteristics that I got to observe working closely with him on the board. Number one, I think, is his sense of humor. I've never seen him without a smile on his face in my lifetime. And that is not just a smile. He makes everyone on that board feel like they're not just a fellow board member with him, but they're his friend. The second, and maybe very important characteristic, is leadership. Our board couldn't have been more diverse, with different priorities coming from many different corners of the city, and there were many of us, about 10. He was able to guide that and to lead that and to give that board a sense of unity, and frankly, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known what I was doing. The third characteristic is his dedication. I can't tell you how many times I would find out when our meeting began at 6 that he began his day in the morning in Wheeling with a full slate. In the afternoon, he was in Charleston, West Virginia, only to drive 3 hours back to Wheeling to make a 6 o'clock meeting, never complained, wouldn't mention it if you didn't ask. The next characteristic is his intelligence. Behind that happy, sometimes goofy smile he has, I learned, is a brilliant man. It is a very complicated area to try to govern a public college in any state, including West Virginia. It was striking to me the mastery that he had of the complexities involved. Now, maybe the most important characteristic that Dr. Cummings has always exhibited for me is Christian principle. He never lost sight of that. There were days when it was easy and days when it was hard. But Bishop Cummings never failed to follow Christ's guidance. So I am honored to call you my friend, Bishop Cummings, and I congratulate you sincerely on this well-deserved award.
Congratulations, Bishop Cummings. You deserve it. I think about when you first came to our church and you said we were going to give out food or school supplies. And I thought you meant we're going to give out school supplies to the people in our church. You said, no, we're going to give it out to the community because we're a small church. And I didn't know how it could happen, but it did happen, and it's growing bigger and bigger, and we're helping more and more people. And I think it's strange that you are considered the Good Samaritan, because I thought, well, we'll give out to our church. But you're giving out to everyone. And I said, well, they have to prove that they need it, right? And you said, no, we're going to give out to anyone who needs it and wants it. And I think that's really what a Good Samaritan is. You give out to anyone who needs it. They don't have to prove anything. because God knows what they need. And thankfully, he let us do this for many, many years with the help of the community in the Ohio Valley, such awesome people who come and help us do that and to be a blessing to those in the community. I just think it's wonderful that you're considered the Good Samaritan this year.
Congratulations, Suffrage Bishop Cummings. I just want to take a moment to say that you're an attribute to the community. It's great to see that you're one who's been chosen to receive the Good Samaritan Award. I know that we worked together for many years on the YSS board, and I just think this is great to know that you've been recognized for all your contributions to the community.
When you think about what makes a city great, it's very tempting to turn to its buildings, its roads, its parks, its schools. All important ingredients. But for me, I turn first and look first at the people. That's what makes a city great. And for more than 4 decades now, we've been so very blessed here in the city of Wheeling to have Pastor Cummings choosing to make this city his home, where he can live out his life's work, where he can fulfill his ministry, and where he can give back so much. He's really part of the connective tissue of this community. He's helped transcend many racial and socioeconomic barriers that for so many years would keep people apart from each other. If you go to his church on a Sunday morning, you're going to see people from all walks of life, and that's really a testament to who he is. And that's to say nothing about all the charitable work that he has done and that he's made a part of his ministry. Making sure families have a turkey on their table for Thanksgiving, making sure children have supplies before they go back to school. These are things for which, he does them not seeking recognition, but the recognition he's getting by this award today and by so many other awards is completely appropriate for all that he does for this community. I really will cherish the time, the conversations we've had since I've been in this position, and he's been in his position. I really think we've worked well together, and I really consider him a trusted confidant and really appreciate his counsel over the years. And I can't say enough about what he means to this community, and I wish him the best going forward.
I am delighted to offer congratulations to my friend Darrell Cummings. This is a well-deserved honor to be our YSS Good Samaritan of the Year. It seems to me, admittedly, it's not my book, but there in the New Testament, the story of the Good Samaritan is about a person who stops along the way to help strangers. And Darrell is the kind of person who wants to give and cares for all with whom we share our community. As a fellow member of our downtown Rotary Club, he and I have done lots of good works together out in the community. Our congregation is proud to support the work that his congregation does, caring for the neediest members of our community. And as an interfaith colleague, I'm honored to have him with me at all of our community-wide observances and celebrations, bringing our shared values to bear on brightening the lives of all of our neighbors. It is a well-deserved honor indeed. Congratulations to my friend, Bishop Cummings, on this award.
Marc first talked to me after he had seen me give a speech at Belmont College for their graduation, and he told me about youth services. It was smaller at the time, but it has gotten bigger, and he invited me to come. And we did, and we liked what we saw, and we're just so humbled that Marc took the time to invite me and allow me to be a part of it. We have enjoyed down through the years, mainly working with John Moses, who took over after Ron, and enjoyed working with everybody on the board. And, Mr. Moses is such a powerful personality and individual, and he, I believe, kindly took me under his wings and helped me, and not only helped me with YSS things, but helped me just even with personal things and with the church ministry, and has been such a great influence. And he's the true asset to the YSS. And I know he's retired now, but I assure you his influence is not retired. His influence is still strong. And then Tammy, she's gone on and she's picked it up and worked with it, and she's also helped us in so many ways, and just as YSS has helped so many young people in so many ways. And I haven't had the opportunity to work with the new president as much, but look forward to it. From everything that I can see, she's going to do great. And so YSS making difference in people's lives, making difference in youth lives, helping when no one else will help, helping keeping our young people in the area even when they've made mistakes. This is one of the jewels of the Ohio Valley, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Well, Darrell, here you are again. This time it's the Good Samaritan Award. And I definitely believe that you are a true Good Samaritan. People can honestly say that when you've done it to the least of these, you have done it unto me, which of course is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And you are his disciple, going out there and helping all those who are in need. So you are doing it unto the least, and that is giving God honor and glory. And you're doing the mission, you're doing the work. And that's exactly what YSS does too. They're very involved, they care about the youth in the community, and so do you. And I believe that's why they decided to give you this award as being the Good Samaritan. So continue to keep up the good work. I know it gets tiring sometimes, but you are doing a wonderful job and you're leaving a great legacy. God bless you, I love you, and there's so much more to come.
I'd like to thank Bishop Cummings and Marc Abraham for their endless support of Youth Services System. They have spent years on our board of directors. Youth Services System's mission is to create better futures for children, families, and our community. These two gentlemen have assisted us in fulfilling our mission. They are true stewards of all that is good.